Hello guys. I fear I am going into a reading slump. I know. Have you ever read a book or a book series that you just loved so much and you were so obsessed with that it's literally sent you into a reading slump? Because that's me. That's literally what's happened to me. The series that has done this to me is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I literally read those books back to back and I just absolutely love that world. I love those characters and I can't imagine reading anything else. And since I finished those books, nothing has hit the same. So the mission for this vlog is to get out of this reading slump. We need to get out of it. It needs to happen. So we're going to do that together. I think the next book that makes sense for us to pick up is something fast-paced, something easy to read, something that I can whiz through, because I feel like I'm not ready to get into a whole another book series. Like I feel like it needs to be a standalone. I feel like it needs to be something that I can just read really quickly and kind of get back into my reading groove. And the first thing that is coming to mind when I say that is Freedom McFadden, our trusty Frida. And I have a couple on my TBR cart. So we have my TBR behind me. So I think I actually have 3 altogether. The 2 that were already on my cart are The Co-Worker and The Perfect Son. But I also got another one for Christmas, which I literally mentioned this in my other vlog, but I have like a pile next to my cart because I don't want to put them on the cart yet because I don't want to ruin their newness. Because they're all my new books and the ones that I'm probably most excited about right now. I want to keep them feeling new for as long as possible. I know that seems so silly. I have a little pile down here and in this pile we have Brain Damage, which is one of her older ones, I believe. And I think this is probably the one that I'm most intrigued by right now. So I think out of these 3, it's probably gonna have to be this one, isn't it? If I'm most excited about it, I feel like that's the best chance for us to get out of a reading slump. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start Brain Damage. I'm hoping it's gonna be really fast paced, hoping it's gonna be easy to read. And the vibe of this one, I don't know why, but it gives me a similar vibe to Ward D, which is actually my favourite Freedom McFadden book. I don't know why that is, it just gives me that vibe. Let's start this one together and hopefully this will get me out of my reading slump. Fingers crossed. Okay, I'm about 40 pages in. The first thing I'm going to say is that you can definitely tell this is one of her earlier books, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But the reason that I'm saying that is because there are quite a few typos or just whole words missing in a sentence. And I'm like, wait, what? I have to like reread it and work out what's missing. And there's also quite a few typos that I have noticed, which I think just kind of makes it very clear that it is a self-published book. And I do think it's kind of interesting to read a book that is so early on in her writing career. Another thing that I noticed is that with Freedom McFadden's books, most of them, if not all of them, have 2 timelines. So we go back to the past and then we also have the present timeline. And this one is the same, but the way that she's done it kind of threw me off at first because it's at the start of every single chapter. So it's following a woman that's been shot and we have 2 years before, so that's 2 years before she was shot. But then sometimes it has 1 week after and then the next chapter will have 2 weeks after, and I'm like, wait, is that 2 weeks after the 1 week after? Or is that just 2 weeks after? Are we 2 weeks after or are we 3 weeks after? That's what's throwing me off. And then sometimes it will have like 2 months after and then the next chapter will also be 2 months after. And I'm like, are these chapters actually at the same time? Or are we talking about 4 months here? I know that seems so silly. I'm pretty sure that it is just 2 months after and she's just repeated it to make it clearer, but it's actually confused me more than anything. And that's something that definitely has changed in her more recent books because I didn't have any problem whatsoever with the timeline of that. But I have a feeling she just carries on the chapters, like she doesn't reiterate the fact that it's 2 months after. This one we're basically following a dermatologist, and the past timeline we're following her as this dermatologist seeing her clients, and it very much at the minute just follows her at work. And then the present timeline, she I think is in like a rehab facility type thing, and it's set after she's been shot. And the whole premise of this book is that she gets shot in the head and she basically loses the function of one side of her brain, and in that part is all of her memories of that night. So she basically has no idea who shot her, and I'm guessing the rest of this will be her trying to put the puzzle pieces together and trying to work it out. What I'm finding so far is that it's a lot slower than her other books. It is a lot slower, which is not what we need. it's not what we need right now. And in the present timeline, we're following her and she basically can't move or anything, and people think that she can't hear anything that's going on around her, but she can. So we kind of get the dialogue between the doctors that are around her family members that are around her, but it's very clear that she is very confused and she doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't really know her own name unless she's told and then asked like multiple times. She just doesn't really know what's going on at this point. But then we also have the past timeline. I feel like nothing's really happening in that timeline at the minute. We are literally just visiting her clients with her. And I think the clients are kind of meant to be like suspects, so she has to introduce all these different characters. But I've got mixed feelings so far. I am finding it quite slow. I really thought this was going to be one that I absolutely loved because, fun little fact, I actually studied brain injury as part of my uni course. I did psychology at uni, and in my final year I did a whole module on brain injury, and that's what she's dealing with in this. And I actually think that that is Freida McFadden's speciality. Like, I believe she's a doctor and she specialises in brain injury, which would make sense why she's written this book. But it's just interesting because some of the things that they're talking about take me back to that module that I did, and I actually found that really interesting. They're my thoughts so far. We will see. We will see. I'm going to read a little bit more and I'll update you when I've got further into this. I'm 80 pages into this book and I'm honestly considering DNFing it. Which I know is such a surprise because I've literally never DNF'd a Freida McFadden book before, and she's one of my favourite authors, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know whether it's kind of like a soft DNF, but then can I imagine picking this back up? I just don't know. It's just very slow and I'm not getting the sort of eerie, creepy vibe that I love from a Freida McFadden book. And the one thing that I find with her books is that they're so fast paced, and I'm just not finding that with this. I don't know. I'm on page 82, which is chapter 12. I don't know whether to give it to like 100 pages or whether to just cut my losses. Because the thing that I said to myself this year was that if I'm really not enjoying a book, that I am just going to move on from it. Because last year I finished so many books that I just wasn't feeling at the time. And every single one of those books, by the end of it, I was like, why did I finish this? Like, it just wasn't worth it and I should have just DNF'd it when I wanted to. So I'm trying really hard to do that this year and be really conscious of the fact that there's so many books out there and so many books that I would absolutely love that it seems silly to waste time on one that I'm just not feeling. But the other part of me is like, it is Freida McFadden. I am kind of interested in this plot line, but at the minute it's not really giving the plot line, but that's kind of why I'm like, do I give it to 100 pages or so? Maybe I'll do that. Right now I'm kind of wanting to DNF it because I find myself questioning whether I'm actually enjoying reading it. I feel like that's kind of a sign that maybe you're not. If you have to ask yourself if you're enjoying it, maybe you're not. Honestly, mixed feelings. And also, the guy that she's met in the past timeline but that we learn is her husband now. At first meeting, he came around to her flat and was basically saying bad things about her cat. And I was like, why are you being so mean to her literal pet? Like, that is such a red flag. And I don't really understand how that is not in itself enough of a red flag to go, no thank you. No thank you. Because why was he like that? And why was she okay with it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have a bit of a break from reading, go and do something else for a bit, and I might come back to this, I might move on to our next book. We'll see. I will keep you updated. I can't do it. I can't do it. I read one more chapter last night and I just thought, no, this is not it. This is not it. So overall, I've got to page 90 of Brain Damage and I've taken the executive decision to DNF it, to leave it there. It's just very, very slow. I'm not really finding that it's gripping me, and I was reading some Goodreads reviews as well, just to 100% make sure that I wanted to DNF it. And a lot of people were saying that this was more of a romance and that there just weren't as many kind of plot twists that we're used to seeing with the Freida McFadden. But I'm very aware that this is one of her early ones, so that kind of does make sense. But I think it really shows how much her storytelling has kind of improved since then. But I just think this one is just not for me, just not for me. And it's a shame because the actual plot of it is something that I was actually really intrigued by and really interested in, but I feel like it's just taken us too long to actually get to the plot. And one of my goals this year was to just DNF books that I just wasn't enjoying, whether I actually want to finish it or if it is just something that I could actually put down and probably not think about again. So I am trying to DNF books where I actually want to, which would make sense. So we're gonna stop reading this. We're gonna move on to our next book, and I thought we could choose that together. My next plan of action is to go for something that is different to anything else, really. I think it's just something completely, like, not necessarily a romance, not necessarily like just a thriller. Maybe, I think a thriller might be a good place to start, but maybe something that has a bit of a twist to it. Like the Inheritance Games might be a good place to start, because I think this is a YA thriller, but it has the sort of deadly game aspect to it. I just feel like this is different to anything that I've read so far. We have a few YA thrillers as well. This one I think is slightly different as well. 10 competitors, 1 winner, no second chances. Another YA thriller, but this one is set on a remote planet. It's a reality TV contest. The only thing they're truly competing for is survival. That's definitely a potential. That's definitely a potential. Because I feel like this is going to be fast paced because it's quite a short read and they have a lot to fit in that time. And also it's a YA, so it should be really easy to read as well. It's definitely an option. We also have this one, which is kind of a similar vibe, but this is like a Korean thriller. This again, we have a 24-hour reality TV show. This sounds really interesting actually. This 24-hour reality TV show is basically set in this snow globe, which is like in the middle of the city. Everywhere else outside of this kind of snow globe dome, it's basically a war happening. And we follow a girl who comes from outside the dome and goes into the dome. Again, it's a thriller with a bit of a twist to it, a bit of something different. I'm trying to think if there's anything really standing out to me that is very, very different to what I usually read. I seem to have a lot of romance on here and a lot of thrillers, which would make sense. I could go into a fantasy, but I feel like that's going to take too much brain power and I just need to get into the habit of reading again. If that makes sense. Like, I just want to feel that feeling of I can't wait to go back to my book and like I can't wait to pick up my book. So I think we're gonna do this one. I think we're gonna do this one. This is Then There Was One by Wendy Cross. This is the one that's set on a remote planet. So I feel like it's kind of giving slight sci-fi thriller vibes. We're gonna give this one a go and hopefully I can get through this quite quick because how many pages is it? Just under 300. We're gonna do this one. Page 85 of Then There Was One, and I don't know. Okay, first of all, this book basically has 10 people who have all come from different planets essentially. Like, there's no Earth, which I don't think was made 100% clear, and I'm kind of confused because we have like different quadrants and I can't imagine the vibe at the minute. Like, I feel like we've kind of overlooked the fact that they're all on different planets and that Earth is not really a thing. Like, Earth is a thing in the old days for them, but that's fine. That's fine. And then we focus on 3 of these contestants, and basically they're going to a different planet where this competition is taking place. And I don't really know what the competition is yet. Like, basically a reality TV contest that's called The Pinnacle, and they get selected. Each of these people get selected. I don't really know what the contest is. Which, we're nearly 100 pages in, so I feel like maybe we should know that by now. And the 3 main characters that we're following, I personally kind of feel like I'm kind of confused as to why we're following these 3 people overall. We basically have a girl who's very well off. She comes from a rich family. We follow another girl who is quite the opposite. Like, she's poor, she's homeless, she has no family, she basically has no one. And then we have a boy who is the politician's son. That's basically the 3 characters that we're following, and that's basically all I know about them. There has been something kind of revealed revealed as to why those people have been picked, but it's all very like everybody's denying everything, everybody's just arguing all the time. Like, this is literally what this book is. It's basically a bunch of teenagers on a planet arguing. I was kind of expecting this to be sort of like Hunger Games vibes, but there's been, I think, 2 deaths so far, and it's just not hitting. It's just not hitting. Like, there's no tension, there's no build up, there's no kind of eerie, creepy kind of feeling. Like I'm not on the edge of my seat thinking, oh my god, who is gonna be killed next? Like, it would just be like, oh, this person did this and now she's dead. Oh, she's dead. Oh, okay. All right. Like, there's no suspense, you know? And that's what I'm really struggling with, because that was the part that I thought would be really fast paced and really kind of had me gripped and like on the edge of my seat and like wondering who's going to be next and what's going to happen. But it's just kind of giving not very much. Not very much. And I'm kind of split between, do I keep going with it or do I just move on to another book? Because we shouldn't be wasting time on books that we're not enjoying. I feel like that is the main message from this vlog. I just don't know. I just don't know. Like, it's just not giving very much. I think I also feel a massive disconnect with these characters. Like, I just don't feel like I'm really that bothered about them. And I'm trying to pinpoint why that is. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm gonna DNF it. I don't know what's happened to me. This is scandalous. This is scandalous. It usually takes so much for me to DNF a book. And I don't know what's happened this year, but I'm like, nope, 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 nope. Because I just feel like there's so many books out in the world and so many that would be like 5 stars for me or even 6-star reads for me. And if I know that a book is probably not going to be higher than a 3 stars, I'm kind of like, maybe it's best if we move on. Maybe it's best if we move on. And last night, after we had a little catch up, I did get to page 112, so chapter 9, which is nearly halfway through the book. And I'm not feeling it. I don't really like how they're whittling down the numbers. I don't really like that we haven't got into the actual TV contest yet, or maybe we have. Maybe we have, and maybe this is it. But I feel like over 100 pages, I don't want to stick around to find out. The thing that really did it was that there was about 3 chapters in a row where they were just arguing. They were just arguing, and it was kind of repetitive. It was like the same thing over and over again because they were arguing about the same thing, they were saying the same thing to each other. It's literally a bunch of teenagers having the same argument over and over again. And I feel like that is something that's probably not going to change either, because they're always going to have questions about each other and about the situation that they're in. So I think we're going to put this one down. I think for the next book, what's my next plan? I don't know. I feel like because I'm such a mood reader, maybe we just pick the one I'm most in the mood for. Maybe that just makes the most sense at this point. I don't know. I could read the shortest book on my TBR cart at the minute. Maybe that would be a good place to start, because I feel like I just need to get back into reading. And I feel like maybe something that's quite short and that's just going to be really fast paced and quick to read. I feel like that's what I need. But at the same time, I'm like looking at my TBR cart and I'm like, I don't know what I can imagine picking up at this point. I don't know. I don't know what the next stage of our plan is to get out of this reading slump, but I will update you when I've decided, when I've picked my next read. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. Good morning. It's currently Saturday, and as you saw, I DNF'd, then there was one last night. And today's plan is to not read. We're gonna try no reading. Just for a day. I'm gonna have a little break from it, and hopefully what I'm hoping is gonna happen is that I'm gonna desperately want to pick up a book and I'm just gonna be really in the mood. I'm hoping it's gonna kind of be like a reset day, and then tomorrow hopefully I'll be really in the mood to pick up a book and we can choose our next book together. So I feel like when you don't know what to do at this point, you do nothing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to give it a go. I do have a lot of editing to do today because my reading vlog is hopefully going up tomorrow, which will already be out by the time that this video is up. But I have a lot of editing to do for that video. So I'm just going to work on that today. I'm going to have a pretty chill day other than that. And I'm just going to have this day as a little break, a little reset. So that's the plan. Will it work? I don't know. But we've got to try everything. We've got to try everything because this slump is not going to go away otherwise. So I haven't read anything. I haven't picked up a single book. I haven't read a single page. Haven't read a single word. Haven't picked up a single book for 3 days now. 3 days. Reading slump is hitting hard. But as always, we have a plan. We have a plan. Today is Frida McFadden's new release day. So we're gonna go and pick up her newest book. We're gonna go to the works. I'm really hoping that they're gonna have the sprayed edges in the works near me because the sprayed edges are just stunning and I need a bit of that in my life. And I'm hoping because it's her newest release, this happened last time with The Teacher. I know The Housemaid is Watching came out after that, but with The Teacher, with her standalone new release, I kind of picked that up on a whim and it literally got me out of a reading slump. I read it the same day that I bought it and I finished it in like 2 sittings. My theory is that hopefully we're gonna have a similar vibe with this book and the concept of this book sounds really, really interesting as well. So we're gonna go together, we're gonna go pick it up and hopefully it will cure me of this reading slump. I am so excited about this. I'm so excited. First of all, can we just appreciate the sprayed edges? Stunning. Stunning. And I'm really happy because every time I go for a new release, they always have bookmarks there, but I literally never manage to get one in time because they always run out of them before I get there. But this time, I was actually there when the bookmarks arrived and she was literally unpacking them onto the shelves. So I managed to get a matching one. And this one says, the nightmare she's running from is nothing compared to where she's headed. I'm really excited for this. I'm literally about to start it straight away. I'm not even taking my coat off yet. And I'm so ready to sit down with a cup of tea and start reading this. I'm so excited. Should we read the first line together? I always love to read the first line when I get a new book. Okay, the first line of the prologue is, I've never killed anyone before. That's it. That's it, just a simple sentence. Already hooked. Already hooked. Hopefully this will get me out of my reading slump. We can hope. We can hope. Yay! Update on the crash and the current reading slump. This is the 3rd day now that I'm reading this book. I got to about page 140 yesterday, but my goal today is to get to at least page 200. That's my goal. I'm gonna set myself kind of like mini goals to get to because I feel like I need to kind of just force myself to read at this point and hope that something sticks. and then I get really invested in something. I am enjoying this so far. I am finding it a little bit slower than usual, but I don't know whether that is purely just because I'm in a reading slump. But it's so frustrating because it's one of those reading slumps where I want to read and I want to get into a really good book, but every time I actually sit down to read, it feels like I just can't concentrate on it and just nothing is hitting in the same way at the minute. But I am enjoying this. Freedom McFadden's writing is just so easy to read and fast paced, so I am getting through it. This one is following Tegan, and Tegan is 8 months pregnant. She's basically got a bit of a situation at home and she decides to go and stay with her brother for a bit. So she gets in the car, gets on the road, and there's a really bad snowstorm and she actually ends up crashing her car and she ends up in the middle of nowhere in this snowstorm, and this truck stops by and basically offers her help, and she realises that from this crash she has a broken ankle, so she really needs to get to a hospital. And this guy basically says, I'm going to take you back to my house, and in a few hours when the snow is cleared and everything, we'll call an ambulance. So that's what he does, and when they get to the cabin there's his wife there as well. So it's basically this couple that live in this little cabin slash house in the middle of nowhere. And when Tegan's there, she kind of starts to realise that not everything is quite as it seems, and that she might have just walked into a more dangerous situation. That's essentially the premise of this book. It's definitely the right sort of time to be reading this because it's very wintry, very snowy. I do really like the kind of vibe of it in terms of snowstorm, stuck in a cabin situation. I just right now I'm not like desperate to pick it back up. I think that's just a me thing, to be honest. I think that's just the reading slump that I'm in. I just want a book where I'm so excited to get back to it and all I want to do is read, and I literally haven't had that since the Prison Healer series. So we'll see. I'll give you a little update when I'm about 200 pages in, because that is my goal. That is my goal. And I'm hoping by then as well I'll be so far into the story that I'll be slightly more gripped in terms of like actually wanting to get back to it. I just miss that feeling, you know? I miss that feeling. Hello guys, I feel like it's been a while since I've actually updated you. It's recently been my birthday, so I was busy celebrating that and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and give you a little update with me and my reading slump. So you haven't really missed much. The only thing to kind of update you on is I finished The Crash. I finished it. This unfortunately did not get me out of my reading slump. It did not. We're still in it. We're still very much in it. And I'm so disappointed because I really thought this was going to work. And this was literally one of my most anticipated releases this year. So I feel kind of sad and disappointed about it. The thing is, it's one that I was enjoying the story, but by the end, there weren't any kind of massive twists that I didn't see coming that Freedom McFadden is so good for. And I think I was just kind of let down by how it all ended. And the thing that I realised when I reached the end of this book is that we actually spent a majority of this book stuck in this basement with Tegan. And that was it. And I was fine with that because at the time I was enjoying it. But having got to the end and the way that everything panned out, I'm kind of like, like it just fell flat. I think that's what it was. And I was just kind of disappointed with the ending. And I think I said this before, but it's not one that I was desperate to get back to either, which is kind of unusual for a Freedom McFadden, I feel like, because she just puts these characters in these crazy situations that you're just so excited to read about and so excited to get back to, and you just can't wait to pick up your book again. But I just did not feel that with this. I don't know. I'm kind of sad about it, to be honest. But for rating, I genuinely don't know what I would rate this. I think it's somewhere between like a 2.5 or a 3. 2.5 seems so low. Anyway, moving on to our next read. As I said, it was recently my birthday, so I got some new books, which I'm so excited about. And I feel like this has given me a bit more of the excitement that I needed. I feel like new books always just do this, but because I have options as well of a few new books, I'm really excited to get to them. And some of them are books that have been on my radar for so long that I finally own a copy of. So we're going to read one of them. I've actually already picked it out because I'm filming a bookshelf scavenger hunt chooses my next read little reading vlog. So you'll see all my thoughts and everything on this book in that reading vlog. I don't know whether it will be up before this or not. I have a feeling it probably will be. So if you want to see that, I will link it down below. But of course, I'm still going to keep you guys updated in this vlog until we're out of this reading slump, because this vlog does not end until we're out of it. The book that we chose for the reading vlog is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, which I think is a thriller. I think it's a kind of thriller, borderline horror kind of vibe. Maybe a light horror. I've heard nothing but great things about Riley Sager as an author, and I've been so excited to read one of his books. This one and The Only One Left are the ones that I've seen the most hype about. I thought that this one would be a good one to start with. I did get a couple other Riley Sager books for my birthday as well, which I'm so excited for. It felt right to start with this one. All I really know about it is that it's like a haunted house kind of situation, kind of paranormal activity stuff. That's all I really know. I'm hoping it's going to be fast paced and hoping it's going to get me out of a reading slump. I'm feeling positive about this. I'm feeling positive. I think I've been cured. I think I've been cured. I don't want to jinx it, touch wood, but I think I'm out of this reading slump. We did it, we did it. While I was reading this, I was definitely finding that I wanted to get back to it. And this is a book that was on my mind when I put the book down as well, which is what we were wanting. We were literally wanting that. And I'm just feeling a lot more, kind of like I'm back to normal. In relation to reading, like I'm just so excited to get into my next book now, and I really have the kind of motivation to read. And I feel like this book, because it has a real creepy on edge kind of feel to it, it was just such a page turner, and it also meant that I was able to focus on the actual book. I just hate it when you sit down and you literally can't focus for more than 2 minutes, and I just found that no book was grabbing my attention. This one though, this one did. And I think that is partly to do with the genre of it, because it is thriller, but it's definitely heavy on the thriller side. I would say that it was kind of borderline going into horror as well. And I think that really helped, because how can you not be so fully absorbed in like a horror story essentially? But yeah, that actually brings us to the end of this video, because we've made it out of our reading slump, which I'm really happy about. And it just makes me so excited to go and pick my next book. Go pick my next read, which you will see in another reading vlog. Thank you so much for coming along with me and getting out of this reading slump with me. I really hope that you enjoyed watching. This vlog I think has literally been spread over like 2 or 3 weeks. That's how long I've been in this reading slump. So I think it's about time that we weren't in it anymore because we've had 2 DNFs. One of them being a Freedom McFadden, would you believe? We tried different genres, we went book shopping, we tried to read a new release. We've covered a lot in the last few weeks. So I feel like it was about time that I had a book that I was really interested in. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm hoping that the rest of February is going to be a really good reading month. Touch wood. But I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Please let me know if you did. And if you're in a reading slump right now, I'm literally sending you all the good vibes, all the good reading vibes. Hopefully you will get out of the reading slump really soon. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will hopefully see you in my next one.